Hi everyone, my name is Missy. I recently decided to start a YouTube channel to document my pregnancy, to do day in the lifestyle type of videos, as well as preparing for baby type of videos. I am 18 weeks and 4 days pregnant as of today. This would be my fourth pregnancy, the first pregnancy that has made it this far. And I did want to start my channel off by giving a little background and information on myself. I am 34 years old and I've been married for almost 7 years. My husband and I have experience with unexplained infertility, PCOS, and pregnancy loss. So our first pregnancy, my husband had just recently finished getting his bachelor's, and I had just started a small cleaning service, and I was also working for another company. So we were kind of busy and I was tired. And I equated that tiredness to me working more. But on Thanksgiving Day, I fell asleep at the dinner table. So we decided to take a pregnancy test and it was positive. We were surprised, but happy. So about 2 or 3 days later, I did start spotting and having some cramps. So I went to the hospital and was told that I had a threatened miscarriage, and I did end up having a miscarriage. During that time, they did do ultrasounds also, and they were not able to see anything on the ultrasound. They couldn't see anything. So I don't know how far along I was. Again, I have PCOS, so my cycles are very irregular. I might have 2 or 3 a year during that time. They were very irregular, so I wasn't sure how far along I was. We didn't try again to conceive, and we were more careful. And a couple years later, we got married. And about 2 years after that, we started trying to conceive on our own, which wasn't necessarily productive for our time because, again, my cycles are very irregular. So about the end of 2016, we started working with a doctor. He put me on Provera, Clomid, and metformin. So the Provera and the metformin were to try to help regulate my cycles, and the Clomid was to help me ovulate. The Provera worked right away. My cycle started, and I started taking the Clomid. We started with the lowest dose, so 50 milligrams, which was 1 pill a day. And we did that for about 2 months, and it did not work. I didn't ovulate. So we went to the next dosage, which was 2 pills a day, 100 milligrams, and that worked. I started ovulating, and we did that for about 2 months, I believe, and then I conceived. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for that day because we did do timed baby dancing. So the day that I was supposed to test, I had already had a doctor's appointment scheduled for him to do my blood work. It was in the afternoon, and of course I couldn't possibly wait until the afternoon. So I took a pregnancy test that morning and it was positive, and we were again very excited. So I went to the doctor that afternoon. They did my blood work and my HCG levels were elevated. I was pregnant. And so my doctor said, okay, we will test again to see, make sure that your levels are going up like normal. And so we tested again 2 days later, and my levels had went down. So we thought that I was having a miscarriage, and he said that we would continue to test my HCG levels until they were at a negative, or a point of not being pregnant or not being considered pregnant. So the third blood draw had went up again slightly, but they had went up. And so my doctor thought that I was having an ectopic pregnancy. He wanted to test. I did too. So we continued to test. He said he would continue to test, and we were just trying to wait to see if we ever saw anything on the ultrasound. He was doing ultrasounds as well, and we were never able to see anything on the ultrasound. My HCG levels were going up slightly every 2 to 3 days, I was getting my blood levels drawn, and they were barely going up. You know, one day they might be 43, and 2 days later they might go up to 47. They were barely rising. So after about 2 months of that, it was pretty clear that the pregnancy was not viable. And so I was given 2 shots of methotrexate to dissolve the cells. That worked on the first try. And because my doctor because it was a pregnancy of unknown location, he decided that I should see a specialist, which he recommended me to one, and I did start seeing him. During my appointment with the infertility specialist, he gave me my options. He wanted to look at my fallopian tubes and see if there was any blocking or scarring. So he said that I could do the dye test, or I could do a laparoscopy. And I chose to do the laparoscopy because if there was a fixable problem, he would be able to fix it while he was in there. I didn't want to waste time by doing the dye test and then them seeing there was a problem and then end up having to do the laparoscopy anyway. So I went straight for the laparoscopy, and they also did the dye test while they were doing the procedure, and everything looked normal. There were no scarring or blockage. Everything was in the right place, so they didn't know what the problem was. We had discussed IUI and IVF with the doctor, and since everything was normal with the laparoscopy, I was able to do any of those options, IUI, IVF, or to try on my own again. We decided to try on our own again, and we conceived again a couple of months later. And that would have been the 3rd pregnancy, and it was the same outcome. I got a positive pregnancy test, my blood was drawn, my HCG levels were slightly elevated, they went down and then up, and we did that just for about a month this time, and they were just inconsistent. They were going up barely. So we did another round of methotrexate. It didn't work on the first try, so we did a second round, which also didn't work, and so we did a 3rd round, and that worked, luckily, because you apparently can't get more than 3 rounds of that. We decided at that point, we were still trying, but we were not gonna try with Clomid anymore. We were just gonna try on our own and see what happens. My husband had just finished his master's, and I had just finished my bachelor's. We decided we wanted to move to California for a little while, just to do something new before we really moved back to Georgia and settled down. So we moved to California. We stayed there for 2 years, and during that time we were still trying to conceive, but we weren't using any Provera or Clomid. I was still taking metformin, not like I was supposed to be taking it, but I was taking it, and I was put on thyroid medication. My thyroid was tested with my doctor in California, and she said that it was normal but slightly elevated for a person trying to conceive. I don't know. So they put me on thyroid medication, and I was taking that, and we were trying to conceive on our own, and we never did. We never conceived again the 2 years that we were in California. We moved back to Georgia, and in 2020, and mid-2020, like maybe around September, we decided that we were going to stop trying. We were gonna focus on adoption. We had discussed adoption before we were married. We were both fine with that, and that's where we decided that we wanted to put our energy. And so we signed up for to do a information session, and that is where I'll leave this video, and I will come back and tell you how that went and how we ended up pregnant when we were no longer trying to conceive. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.